Hey guys, welcome to my shop, actually more specifically my wood shop, which happens to be my garage. Anyways, I am starting on a new project. It's going to be a 8-foot by 18-inch switching layout in N scale. One of the things that we found out recently is that we're going to be in this house for at least the next year, so kind of broke down and decided it was time to build something, so I had something we could run trains on for the next year. So we came up with the idea of doing a switching layout. So you might be asking about the dimensions themselves. It's like I said, it's 8 feet or 96 inches by 18 inches deep. It's going to be built in 2 4-foot modules that will mate together. I've got some parts here. I'll go over those real quick here in a second to let you know about the sizes. The layout itself isn't complete. I've started on it in one of the CAD programs. I can't remember which one I'm using right now. Anyways, I started on that layout. Now, unfortunately, I can't build the layout to the track plan because of the limitation of the size. I've got a limitation on mostly the length, and I really don't want to go too deep, because if I go too deep, then it's just a pain to reach over to reach to everything. So, kind of compromising the 8-foot length and the 18-inch depth seems to be fairly comfortable. I'm fairly short, so is my wife. So I kind of just stood there and just kind of measured, my comfortable stretching, or reaching, and that kind of gave me that depth, and I think that's going to work. All right, so let's talk about parts. I saved you, or spared you, the footage of me cutting all this up on table saw. I guess you could say that this could be cut up on table saw, it could be done with a track saw. Sometimes I do this kind of stuff with a track saw. I'm using 1/2-inch, what is basically Baltic birch, although I don't believe this is Baltic birch veneer. I think this is some kind of, I'm not really sure what it is. It's fairly good quality. I got it at Home Depot. This stuff was actually a little interesting. It's actually pre-primed. So I know I'm going to paint the modules, the outside of it, probably a dark gray or a black. So the fact that it's pre-primed, that's pretty nice. And it didn't seem to increase the price of the material. I think a normal 4x8 sheet of 1/2-inch birch plywood is about $38, $39, and I think I paid about $30 or $39 with tax, so it's not bad. All right, so the 2 biggest pieces obviously are the tops, and I did decide to go 1/2-inch on the top. Some people go a little thinner, add some foam to the top. I'm still going to add foam to the top, but I definitely wanted a more rigid top. Also, I wanted to get away from having braces underneath here. I didn't want having ribs. I just want to get away with the outer perimeter. So the fact that I'm not going to having ribs or bracing underneath, making this almost like a torsion box, that also warranted a little thicker top to keep it from warping on me. So this is 48 by 18. I got 2 of those right here, which will essentially be the top of the modules. Got 4 pieces at 17 by 4. Those are going to be the end pieces. I've got 4 more pieces of 48 by 4. Those are going to be the front and back. And I did cut these so that the front and back will be the full length of the module. The side pieces are cut a little short so they fit in between the front and the back. I put 17 by 4. I think this is actually like 17 and a 16th. I actually had to go a little bit longer because, as those who do woodworking know, the dimensions that are stated on, when you're buying this stuff, even plywood is not exactly, this isn't exactly a 1/2 inch. This is actually a little less than a 1/2 inch. So that 16th is actually kind of making that up. And I did test fit everything so that I can just go ahead and get right to gluing and attaching everything. And speaking of glue, you gotta use Titebond 2. If you're a woodworker or have been in the woodworking, hobby or whatever, Titebond's pretty much the gold standard these days. This is Titebond 2. I tend to prefer 2 over 1. Don't ask me why. It's just always really worked for me. And I'm going to be using 1.5-inch brad nails with my air nailer. So enough talking. Let's get to it. Okay, as you see, I've got everything kind of laid out here. I've got the tops facing down, obviously, because I want to build these on top of here, but also I figured if I get any glue drip, it's okay on the back side of this thing. It's not a big deal. So we'll go ahead and start putting this together. I'm going to move the camera so you can see a little bit better. Okay, and I'm also being mindful of what is the inside and what is the outside. It's kind of hard to tell probably on camera. The inside has kind of a slightly darker shade, where the outside has kind of a whiter shade, which is the primed side that was pre-primed at the factory. So like I said, that is kind of a nice thing about this particular plywood. Now, one thing I am noticing right off the bat is this is bowed. But the nice thing is that it is bowing to the outside based on the side that we want exposed. So what I should be able to do is I should be able to, when we go to actually attach the top, we'll be able to attach the top at the ends and then push the side in and put it right where it needs to be, so it's aligned properly. So, all right, man, I talk. I need to learn to shut the hell up. All right, and for the glue, I'm not going to go real crazy, just enough to, you know, to keep the joint together if the nails were to ever fail. But to be honest, I rarely have a problem with brad nails failing. And what I'm doing is, I know you can't see it, I'm just using my thumb to make sure that the pieces are lined up. And I always get one nail in first, check it. That feels pretty good. Second one in there, and then I'll follow up with a couple more in the middle. Yep, that feels pretty good. Alright, now I'm going to take advantage of having the other piece here so I don't have to balance this whole thing. Okay, again, that's our light side. This is our dark side. Okay. And rinse and repeat. Okay. Again, just making sure everything's lined up. Yep, feels good. Tell you, the pneumatic nailer makes this so much easier. So much easier. It really does. Okay, now, I have to carefully, without tweaking those joints too much, considering they're still wet and whatnot. Okay, alright. Again, just checking to make sure I've got the proper side facing out. I can tell these end pieces are bowing slightly as well. Again, when we go to glue these to the top, should be able to push in the bow a little bit and put some nails in, and it should keep it fairly straight. Now for this one, since I got to put both at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and glue both ends. And the thing with Titebond, if you've ever used Titebond has a pretty good working time on it. Does not take, set up immediately, which is nice. But also, it won't take forever either. So I can come back 30 minutes later, and this glue will just be set up. You can almost start working again if you wanted to. I'm probably just going to let this dry overnight. But having the Benchwork done really is a nice milestone when it comes to building a layout. I haven't built a ton of layouts in my lifetime, I have to admit. I've been playing with model trains since I was a kid, but okay, that feels really good there. Alright, so I'm going to set this one aside, I'm going to do the other one, I'll come back, and then we'll work on the tops. Okay, I'm back. Got the framed pieces glued and nailed, and everything feels pretty good. There's a couple little spots I'm not entirely happy with over like here. I got something's a little proud. So I'll just make sure to make that the outside on one end or the other. Okay? So as long as I've got two sides that one side on each that is perfect, those will mate up just fine. I'll be able to mate those together, and probably what I'll end up doing, because the bottom side will be open, is I'll just, once I get these kind of leveled and together, I'll come in with a couple of lag screws probably 4 or 6, and I'll actually shoot those straight through into the other one, and it will pull those two modules together tight. And getting that top surface nice and tight that's a big deal. So what I'll do is I'll do that first, and then I'll come back and I'll glue my foam on, and the foam will be glued so that they are butted up right nice and tight to each other. Because the idea is when we do move, because we are eventually going to move out of here, I'll be able to come in here, pull these screws, loosen up some wiring that will be going through some of the holes that I'll drill after the fact. I haven't drilled those holes yet. And I'll be able to just pull these two modules apart and take them away. And I'm hopefully going to make that part, as far as the construction is concerned, that'll be part of a video showing how I've proactively designed this so that it will come apart very easily when that time does come. So, okay, so what I'm going to do, and what I've noticed is one of these is bowing out, one of them is bowing in slightly. This one just happens to be the one's bowing in, not a big deal. Going to run glue around all 4 edges. Going to set the top, and what we're going to do is I'm going to start with this corner. I'm going to get this corner perfect, glue it, and nail it. Then I'll come down here and I'll do the same thing at this corner, and then I will get this front piece. Then I'll be able to go and shift the corners on the back and get them perfect. And once I do that, this whole piece will be squared to the top, because the top is absolutely square. I cut that on the table saw. I was able to do diagonal measurements on it just to verify it is absolutely square. So let's get the glue going. Again, this doesn't require a whole lot of glue, but it doesn't have to be a real thin line either. So I started to say before I cut the camera off that I have been playing with trains since I was a little kid. But as a kid, I never had a particular place that was dedicated that I could build a layout. So really I didn't get a chance to really truly build a train layout until I was in my 20s and living on my own. I had my own place. Once I had my own place, I could do whatever I wanted basically, but you know, like I said, it was one of those things where, you know, I had a place of my own and I could do what I wanted with it, whereas when I was a kid, didn't exactly have that much freedom with the at the house that I lived in. Okay, there's one corner and the nail, and I'm intentional. I'm nailing into the front piece, the front plywood piece, not the side piece, because I essentially want to register everything to this front piece. So here we go. I'm gonna pull out on this until it's even with the front edge. Shoe screw, or shoe nail. Do the same thing here. Same thing here. Okay, now, that edge is pretty good. So I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna shoot a nail in each one of those. Just kind of hold everything in place. I can always come back and add more nails as I need to, but at this point in time, I really don't need to. All right, I think we're gonna use this end as the actual end, and that feels pretty good right there. Trying not to be in the way of the camera. So I'm gonna shoot one in there. Okay, that holds that. And we'll do the same thing here. That seems pretty good. Might be a little proud. And now it's okay. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Just make sure that everything is lined up. Anywhere there's any glue squeeze out, I'm just carefully getting that with my finger. There really isn't much because I really didn't go overboard on the glue. There's a little squeeze out, but not too bad. And a little glue squeeze out is okay because then you know that you definitely used enough glue for sure. Okay. Turn this guy around, make it a little easier to get to with the nailer. And even though this one was bowing out before, it's not bowing out nearly as much now. So I'm just gonna, just a little touch there. Also, just a little tip, when using an air nailer, one of the things to pay attention to is that the nails are actually flat. And they're flat this way. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that the nail tends to not go in straight, but it will actually go in, catch the grain, and usually curve the one way or the other. So, because I'm bringing that up, because if you're nailing like this, it'll tend to go like this and not come out. But if I'm nailing like this, there's a very good chance it will come out and actually shoot out the side. And that is the last thing you want, because now you've ruined this nice new veneer on this module, and now you've got to either pull that nail and try to repair it or something, or cover it with something. So if you can avoid that, avoid that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the other one together, and I'll come back and show you them just complete. Okay, both modules are complete as far as the basic structure and the tops. Came out pretty nice. Again, like I said, it really has to do with good quality materials, using good, accurate tools, you know, a table saw, a track saw, something along those lines. This all can be done with a jigsaw or a circular saw or whatever. It really can. It's just, you know, it's taking your time and being as accurate as you can, because you want this to be a nice, good, level, flat surface. Because if it's not, it's just going to give you trouble down the road when it comes to, you know, laying the foam and then laying your track and everything. You want a good quality, you know, level surface. And again, that has to do with, like I said, the good materials. You know, more expensive plywood. You're not going to build this on OSB and have it, you know, as stable. It really isn't going to be. So, and of course, this is a little bit experiment for me, not having any kind of ribbing or anything underneath here in the middle to give this more strength. But once the glue dries and everything, this should be fairly rigid. Also, in a future video, I'm going to show how I'm going to make the leg pockets in the corners. I already have a bunch of legs from my old layout that's 2x2 material with leveling feet on it. So I'm just going to reuse 8 of those legs on these 2 modules. And I'm going to have these little pockets so you'll be able to slide them in there and screw them in place, but then be able to remove them if the modules need to be taken apart and moved, which again, that's a recurring theme. I will be doing that at some point. So anyways, thanks for watching, and look forward to the next video. The dark side. I'm not even a fan of those movies. I just lost followers over that, probably.